All right, everybody, welcome back to the Nick and Izzy show. That's Izzy Richardson. I'm Nick Morgeson. As Izzy abruptly starts the proceedings as we're going live.
You know why he's laughing? Because right before we went completely on the air, I just had like a little burp that came out. But I am eating tasty fish. Shout out to my mom. They're really good too.
But before we get going, if you want to find the Nick and Izzy show, we are here on Facebook. That's where you're seeing us right now. And also, we're on YouTube. If you don't see it on Facebook, I mean, you can watch the replays on Facebook, but you can find us on YouTube as well. Look up the Nick and Izzy show on YouTube, and we're actually catching up on all the past episodes so people can find them. I have to go back to the other night, though, because as Izzy knows, I was running back and forth to WABC where him and I work. I worked 5 days this week. It was a long week. And if you go on our Facebook page, I actually posted a picture of Izzy's favorite food, Chinese food.
Oh my gosh. And that food looks so good too. You had. I was just like, Nick.
I'm just like, and it was like 2:20 a.m. Like I was working with John Batchelor, who is a nationally syndicated radio host who I help out with during the weeks I was filling in for our coworker, Nick Malone, who we need to get on here, actually. I think he'd be funny.
Oh, he would be actually. He'd be great. I love Nick.
And I work 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. during those shifts. It's one of those weird shifts where you just lose your whole day when you work because it's like it's late afternoon and then it's early the next morning and you're just like, okay. And then when I got home, well, I called my parents and they said, oh, we got you dinner. And there's Chinese food sitting there. And I'm like, oh, yay. So I come home and I just gorged myself to death with Chinese food. I ate that whole, if you go and see the picture, I ate that whole, I ate the egg roll and I ate the General Tso's chicken and the fried rice. I was like, I was ready for sleep afterwards.
Oh yeah, a lot of times like when you eat like food that's like that, you're just ready to go straight to bed after because there's something about like when food is like inside of your stomach and it's like digesting, especially if it's something really heavy like some kind of like chicken Alfredo or like Mexican food or something in that nature because it's so freaking good. I'm telling you, it's like, oh my gosh, yes.
I was just like, I'm ready. I'm here to eat, and nothing is stopping me from eating the food.
I'm telling you, brother. And nothing really seems like it's stopping a lot of people from still going out partying because, you know, we're officially going to be in the second wave. Unfortunately, I really don't want to say that, but we're in the second wave of COVID. And a lot of people, I feel like, are just really tired of just looking at the news and just seeing what's going on and what's happening here and what's happening there because there's thousands of new cases in New York and New Jersey in the tri-state area over the last week that have been popping up on the charts. And we want to make sure everyone's safe out there because I actually just came across a story not too long ago that there was a couple of parties in New York City that happened to have hundreds of people there that it got busted. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I understand totally that people want to go out, but, you know, we just got to still be a little careful, but hopefully we just got to get through this soon. But it's, you know, as I was saying, though, Nick, over the last couple of episodes that we did, it's very tough and challenging, though, to really be able to control the public fully. And I think that's what a lot of people, especially if you're a politician or if you're in a big position, may not understand. Like, it's just so hard to control the public. Like, some people are going to listen and some aren't.
It's a tough situation. As you know, we've been running back and forth to the radio station, being essential workers, trying to keep the news on the air 24/7 around the clock. And we're just hearing, like you said, these big parties. People are dumb enough to hold parties of hundreds of people, and they don't realize, hey, we're not social distancing. We're not following the rules. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And in a minute or two, we're going to talk about the numbers in New York and New Jersey, where both of us are from, and what they're kind of doing, what Governor Cuomo and Governor Murphy are up to. So it's been a tough situation. The numbers are back up. I think in New York, it's almost 3%. And I don't know what the percentage is in New Jersey, but I know they had 4,600 positive tests yesterday.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I feel like with the holidays coming up too, a lot of people are going to start like doing more traveling. And that's another thing too, because I heard actually that a lot of states right now, they don't want you to have any more than 10 people at your house for the holidays, which, I got to tell you though, brothers and sisters, that's going to be something where I just kind of laugh at, because I'm just like, who's really going to listen to that? Especially if you own like a house, or, I mean, an apartment building may be a little different because there's like other people who are maybe next to you or on top of you. But who's really going to like listen to that though? I mean, a lot of people probably will. And I've been also hearing that a lot of commercials on TV and also on the radio that they want to make sure you're wearing your mask even around your family members, because you don't want them to get sick either. It's going to be interesting to see how the numbers look for traveling next week.
Right.
And the week after.
And it's so crazy. And it popped that picture up of our two genius governors right now.
I'm telling you, because these two guys right here, my friends, a lot of people have a lot to say about them, and some of the comments are nice, but a lot of them are a little, y'all kind of crazy.
Well, I told you, Izzy, the other day I made a joking comment about Governor Cuomo being King Cuomo, and how people jump 0 to 60 very quickly on, excuse me, about how these guys are acting about the COVID results. But if you look at the COVID results, they're up. In New York, I think we've had 5,000 positive results each of the last 2 days. So,
we did, brother. Yep.
So we're talking about a situation where we, as New Yorkers and in New Jersey, we're not controlling the COVID situation well enough. And I don't think Governor Cuomo has been kind of up in the air. And we're going to talk about the whole situation with President Trump, where he basically crapped on Governor Cuomo during his press conference. Izzy and I were laughing at this because Trump, I feel like, has a weird obsession with New York, and he doesn't want to give anything to New York, which is ironic because he's from New York, so he's kind of screwing himself in this whole COVID debacle. By the way, if you want to comment during the video, go on to our Facebook video and drop your comments about what you think about Governor Cuomo and Governor Murphy, and for any other governors of that sort, if you want to talk about that as well. But I don't know, man. We're having a huge problem, and the governors are not really doing what they say they're doing.
I got to tell you, brother, I think it's a lot of politics. I mean, if you look at what you were saying about Donald Trump, not to go too deep into it, but he mixed politics there again, in my personal opinion, with this virus. And it's just like that kind of situation to me is just not really going to help the problem out though. And unfortunately, I think that a lot of things are just not about the American people. I think it's just about these people in these big high up positions, unfortunately, going after one another and taking shots. And that's just not the way that we really should be handling this kind of situation, because I believe there's going to be a third wave of this. And I think that third wave, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be coming anywhere from February to March. But I think it's going to be very tiny.
Let's get through a second wave first. I mean, we're just entering the second wave. At least people are not saying that, but technically we're in a second wave because we got the numbers down, and then the numbers came back, and now people are like, well, what are we supposed to do? We got the numbers down. Now you're seeing that V-shaped curve going back up again, and people are like, holy crap, the numbers are back up. We tried to open things again. We tried to open restaurants. We tried to open businesses. We tried to open movie theaters. We tried to open gyms, and now the numbers are not being controlled again, so we have to close everything. We saw it yesterday that Governor Cuomo put the mandate in for bars, restaurants, gyms, movie theaters, everything to be closed by 10 p.m. because people can't be responsible and say, hey, I shouldn't be out in groups and I should be social distancing and controlling ourselves.
Right. And, brother, like, I think the other issue, too, is there's no direct answer with all of this. And I think that's one of the reasons that people are going crazy. I think the second reason is that people are just tired of all of this. And I think the third reason is that a lot of people, if it's not affecting them, it's not really something that I can't really say that they don't care about it, because I think they care. But part of me does believe that some people just feel, if it's not affecting me and I'm healthy, like, how come I can't just go out and live my life? And Like, why do I have to sit here with other people and like be in fear like some other people are? Which I've noticed a lot of that too. Like, a lot of people have been on Facebook and social media talking about all of you other people out there that want to just stay home. You guys can stay home if you're scared, but I want to go out and live my life and take my family to these restaurants. I want to go out and take them to these theme parks so they can enjoy their life, which I understand that argument, but also at the same time too, then the health part comes into where if you feel like you're okay, what if you have the coronavirus and you give it to somebody else though? And I think that's where the biggest fight is coming. It's so much craziness. And I think that's the reason that a lot of people who I believe are actually at home right now that are staying safe and not really going anywhere, they want this to be over. And I think the people that are out there doing their thing, though, they want it to be over as well, too. But I feel like some of those people, if they're not following the rules 100%, are actually maybe part of the problem.
Right. And Izzy, you can exit out of this picture view and go back to us. But what I was going to say is these two guys control the tri-state area, along with Governor Lamont in Connecticut and Governor Carney in Delaware. They control the tri-state area, and they're trying, but I don't think they're doing good enough to protect us from this virus. I mean, wearing the mask is fine. Trying to social distance is fine. And Governor Cuomo really made a confusing statement to me. I don't remember the direct statement, but he said that, oh, well, during Thanksgiving, we're mandating that in private residences, you go 10 people or less. How are you going to mandate that? You can't mandate that. I can't wait. Are we going to get like the privacy police where they're going to go into each house and say, all right, that's 11 people. You can't do that. We're going to fine you.
Yeah, brother. I mean, and the other thing is too, is it just makes me laugh like when they say things like that, because there's actually billboards in New Jersey in some spots. A lot of them have been taken down now, but there was billboards a couple weeks ago that said, if you're coming from out of state into our state in New Jersey or New York, make sure you call 311. And I was just like, who the hell is going to be calling 311 when they come into New Jersey from out of state? Because that's almost like telling
somebody yourself by doing
like telling on yourself. And a lot of people are just going to do their thing. That's one thing that I think a lot of people just have to, I think, do their best to understand and realize, like, when you work with the public on this type of level, and we're talking about like everyone, we're even talking about people in other countries, because some people in other countries are still trying to come over here. And it's just like the public is something to where like you can really only do like so much though, until like people are just going to say, screw it, I feel like, and just they're going to do their own thing.
It's like what you said about those two parties that had 100+ people at them. Like, you're talking about how we're all trying to socially distance and we're trying to kill this virus. But if you're having parties with 100 people at it, you're making it worse.
Yeah. And unfortunately, brother, I think it's one of those situations to where it's people are just going to be people. People are going to do their own thing. I mean, we hope and pray that no one gets sick. But if God forbid, like, it just happens, I feel like, and I don't want you guys to get sick. It's just, just be careful out there, definitely, because it's something to where we can only really do the best. At the end of the day, honestly, Nick, I actually really believe, and I hate to say this though, like I know there's a lot of things out there that says we're all in this together, but at the end of the day, I really feel like, brother, it's all about just ourselves and just protecting you, because people are going to go out there and do what they do. I mean, I was out there yesterday driving around, and I was with my cousin trying to help him with some stuff. And I noticed that there was a lot of people that had like, a lot of people in their cars, and which is, if everybody's healthy, I feel like that's okay. But it's just one of those things where I've noticed that people are just going out with their families, and the traffic is crazy out there in New Jersey on these big highways. Like, Route 80 is crazy, 287. And it's funny because I feel like the weekends are actually more busier than during the week, I've noticed now, because of just people going out.
I see people on the trains again now during the week. And like even on the subways, when I took the subway in yesterday,
right,
someone sat down next to somebody on the bench, and automatically the person got up and walked away. Like, and I get it because of social distancing. You don't want people sitting right on top of you on the subway. Same thing on the train where I was coming home one day. Someone literally sat. There were other seats. Have you ever had that, like on NJ Transit, where the train is empty and someone like comes and sits right near you? Like it drives me crazy when people do that. There's whole other parts of the freaking train, for crying out loud, and you come and you sit right across from me, and I'm like, hello, COVID distance, social distance, please.
You know what's funny about that, though, Nick? I said to myself, and I thought about this over the last couple of months riding the train into Manhattan, is that I bet you a lot of people like sitting next to somebody for safety reasons. And the reason I say that is because if God forbid, like something ever did happen on the train or the bus, so, and I feel like that's one of the reasons that people like to sit next to somebody, because at least like there's someone next to you in case like a tragedy does unfortunately happen. But I see what you mean, though, and a lot of people do that, and it's just to me, it's like a wild situation. I mean, now I've been on the train a couple months ago before I actually injured my foot here, and I was sitting like, right next to someone that happened to come sitting right next to me. And, me personally, like I am someone who I'm just, I guess you say not too afraid of the coronavirus. And I feel like I'm acting like that just because, I have my mask on at all times. And, I take vitamins constantly, and I just exercise a lot too. So I feel really healthy. Like I respect other people's opinions though. Like if you feel that you want me to move away from you for social distancing, I'll definitely do that. Like even when I get in the train now, like I do kind of sit like a seat away from someone just to do that though, just
Right.
because that's what we kind of have to do. And I mean, if someone did come next to me, I personally wouldn't really mind, because I just feel like as long as I have my thing on, and it's it's just like I mean, going back to like people in general, people just I feel like have their own mind of themselves to really see like what they really want to do, and they're gonna really do their own thing, even though it's pissing some people off. But then others are just like, it's okay. Like, I mean, I know families now that they're actually, I can't really say too many names, but they're
Right.
actually already planning on having a lot of people over the house. And my one friend was telling me about how what she would like to do is she was asking all of her family members, which I actually think this is a smart idea, if they can get tested before they come over, if they have COVID or not, though. And I said to myself, I said, that's actually interesting, because, with all the testing centers out there, that, I mean, hey, I mean, if you're going to have a lot of people over, I mean, that's probably the safest thing to do, because at least you can get the results back and say, you're negative, you're negative, you're negative. So we can all come together and,
Well, I told you the story that at the beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic, when you and I basically had to keep traveling back and forth to the city for work. And I don't blame them. My brother and my sister-in-law would not let me around my nephew because I was traveling back and forth, and I understood it. Was I frustrated? Yes, but at the same time, I understood. So I had to go get the test. One for going back and forth to work. We had to do it one time, and then I did it. Well, and once they saw I was negative, it was all fine.
right.
And now I can be near my nephew and my niece, and it's all good. But that's what we're talking about here. That I want to see the privacy police go to people's houses, like I said earlier, and
Yeah.
I want to see them go count. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then like someone's hiding around the house somewhere so that it looks like 10 instead of 11 people. Oh, good. Okay, 10 people, and then that person comes out from under the table. We beat the cap of 10 people.
Yeah, brother. And, I mean, it's, what's so sad about a lot of this? So I'm going to tell you this. So I thought about this for a while. It's like there's so many different mixed opinions about this coronavirus, to where even when it's all completely over, unfortunately, I think it's not only going to be like, we hope that a lot of the craziness is going to be calmed down, because now we got through the election. Kind of. And now the next thing that we're doing now is we just have to take care of this pandemic. And unfortunately, even after, I think it's still going to bother people, because it's 50-50, I feel like. Like a lot of people just want to go back to living their normal lives without all the PPE equipment, and half the people will. And the fight, I think, is going to happen to where, like, even if everything in the media has calmed down and stuff does start reopening back up more and more, that people are still going to be really afraid, though. And I think that's going to be going on for at least the next, unfortunately, 2 years. I mean, with things being opened again, I feel like it's going to let people know, like, hey, it is a little bit more safer. Also with the media as well, too, such as the CDC and Pfizer and all these big companies, when they come out with more evidence and more things that they're working on with the coronavirus. Because when the CDC starts lifting the mask mandate, that's when I think, and also the social distancing, that's when a lot of people are going to start being more comfortable. But then again, I don't think they on 100% are yet.
I don't think they're going to lift the mask mandate next year. I think you're going to see the mask mandate for all of 2021. That's just because of how dangerous the virus has been so far.
Yeah.
Just to refer back, and we talked about this in the last episode, because Izzy mentioned Pfizer. For people who don't know, Pfizer is the big company that's creating the virus that the government is putting the funding into so that we can have the vaccine and hopefully we can fight the virus. Now, I've told you this, Izzy, and I've had arguments with some people over it. I would never take the first dose of a vaccine. I just would not do it because you never know. Because usually in the first doses, you find out side effects and what goes on with the virus. So just be very careful. I understand if you're at high risk, you need the vaccine, so you take it. But if you're not at high risk, I would not take the first dose around because I would want to see what the actual side effects of this vaccine actually are.
Right. And I personally agree with you, Nick. I mean, I couldn't really take the vaccine myself because I would just be too afraid of, like, God forbid, like something happened with the side effects and things of that nature. Because, it usually takes anywhere from 5 to 10 years, they say, to come out with a vaccine because they have to do a lot of testing for it now.
And they rushed this one.
They did, and which I think is something that is making a lot of people happy. But also at the same time, too, it's making a lot of people afraid because they might be saying to themselves, well, if this is happening with the vaccine right now, I don't even know, because they feel like they rushed it a lot. See, here's the thing, too, though, is it's very sad with this whole situation because if you do take your time with the vaccine, which is what I think the country should do and the world should, it's going to take a couple years. And unfortunately, we really can't have the economy and have stuff closed down for a couple years because that's just going to cause a complete disaster. And I think that's where, like, a lot of people are fighting in that kind of situation. Because if think about this for a second, though, brother, if the economy was closed down for 2 years, I mean, if people couldn't work, I just wonder what kind of situation they would be in after that. Like, if their job happened to close down and they didn't have, like, income coming in. I thought about it and I was just like, I think that'll make people even, like, more crazier than what they already are now, because this has been so much change for people's livelihood and lifestyles to the level to where, like, they are going completely, like, left field or either right field. Like, they don't know what to do. And it's really a sad situation because when you start messing with people's lives, well, not really messing with it, but I would say, like, when people's lives have to change in such a dramatic and fast way, it's like they have this tendency, I noticed, to either get very angry or some people can handle change very well. And then other people just are like, well, let's see what happens. And if it doesn't happen in my time frame and it tests my patience too much, then I'm just going to go out and do whatever the hell I really want to. And
that's the problem. That's the problem. People are doing whatever the F they want. And basically, it's causing us to have to close down again. Like I said, in New York, we're close to 3% in positive tests. In New Jersey, you're probably not too far behind us. You might even be a little higher than we are. So there's not much. We got to be careful. We got to social distance. We got to try to not be stupid. I hate to say that because that's not nice. But at the same time, some people are not acting and using their heads to handle this whole situation to the best of their ability. But let's take a break from the virus and let's talk about a positive story. If you can put up that other picture on the screen.
Definitely. Yes, brother, definitely, of course.
So while you're doing that, so here is Kim Ng. She is the newest general manager of the Miami Marlins, the professional Major League Baseball franchise. And she is the first woman and Asian American woman to be a general manager for a professional men's sports league team. And this is unbelievable news. We haven't seen this. This is a long time coming. And this just goes to show that more women should be in the power position, whether it comes to a general manager for a sports team, or as we see, we now have a vice president in the White House, or a CEO position, or anything.
Right. And, I got to tell you, brother, this is something to where, like, when it comes down to women, I've always believed, in my personal opinion, that women and men should be paid equally, and they should be treated equally in the workplace, and also just in general too. I always believe that you always want to treat people with a lot of kindness and a lot of respect, no matter who it is. My grandma always told me that. She said, Izzy, when you go out here in life, she said, there's a couple things that I just want to always remind you to do. Is the first thing is to treat everyone with a lot of kindness, help people, and also just be your best self. And I always took that advice from her. And I said to myself, I was just like, I'm going to do that, Graham, definitely. And it's very interesting because there's been a lot of things that have been happening in this world, and also with our country, with women's rights over the last decades and decades. I mean, a lot of things such as pay for women, and how men are more likely to get paid more money than women are in a higher up position. And I think what I've noticed actually, and now I'm not a woman myself, and I think personally, we'll eventually have some girls on here or some women to try to see how their experience has been in the workplace, so we can show you.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed a lot, though, is a lot of women encouraging other women. And I think that's something that is such a beautiful thing. I mean, it's almost just like, you're like each other's cheerleader. And I think that a lot of women have been doing that recently. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of changes like this have been going into play, because not only, and congratulations to this beautiful woman right here. I mean, the first Asian American. This is amazing, though. God bless her. I mean, I think this is something that's so amazing. So Kim and G, congratulations, sis. But not only her has she gotten actually into a higher position when it comes down to the work world.
Just to give you an idea of what Kim Ng's resume is.
Go ahead, brother.
So she has 30 years of experience in baseball. 30 years experience. It took her this long to get where she was, but this is the world, unfortunately, that we live in right now. But she started as an intern with the Chicago White Sox at 21, worked her way up to a job as the American League's director of waivers and records by age 29. Became the youngest assistant general manager in Major League Baseball, working under Brian Cashman and the New York Yankees. So by age 29, age 30, she was working in the New York market as an assistant to the general manager of the Yankees. Then she joined the Dodgers as the vice president and assistant GM in 2001. And left to serve as the senior vice president of baseball operations for all of Major League Baseball in 2011.
See, that's so phenomenal to me, brother. I mean, and not only is that resume just so phenomenal, I mean, this woman has just worked so extremely hard. And you know what? Actually, just before you went into that, talking about her resume, Nick, I actually also just want to mention too that Kamala Harris, she's actually going to most likely be the first African-American woman in a high up position like this, also as a vice president. And you also have too, there's actually who's going to be working with Kamala. She's a black woman, and she's actually the first ever lesbian that's going to be working as part of the LGBTQ community in a high up position in government as well too. So I really love these positive changes that are happening for our women out there. I mean, it's something too where, if you go back in the day, actually, what a lot of the speculation was, and a lot of what society thought should be happening with women is, you get married to a woman if you're a man. And what happens is the man goes out and works, and then the women stay home and they take care of the kids, and they should always be a stay-at-home mom, which I have noticed over the last 30 years. Well, I would say 20 years, because I haven't been born 30 years, or I haven't been alive actually 30 years. But I've noticed that a lot more girls actually are they want to go out and work. Like some of them don't want to be stay-at-home moms. Some of them want to have a job so they can make more money.
That's such a stereotypical thing that I hear. Well, like you just said, where the women stay home, well, or they work up until they have kids, they stay home, and the manly man of the house is supposed to go out and make the money so that the mother can stay home. Well, unfortunately, or I should say, fortunately, that's changed. And now you have the man and the woman and the woman, the man and the man. It shouldn't matter. Like you have both people in the relationship working, because one person can't really pay the bills anymore. It doesn't work. Like with all the expenses, and if you have kids, you got to send them to school. You have to eat and taxes and everything. So there's no what they call the breadwinner anymore. That's it's a dumb term that I've hated for a very long time. The breadwinner.
Yeah, brother. And I got to tell you too, I mean, like, yeah, this whole situation with women with the stereotypical stuff, like they should always be staying home. I mean, a lot of them want to work as well too. And sometimes it's also the opposite way around too. Like I've actually seen it to where a lot of men will stay home and they'll take care of their kids, and the women will go out and work and they'll do their thing. I really believe that kind of situation all comes down to like, how much money you have. Because, hey, I mean, if you have your partner living with you and one person makes enough money to support both you guys and you guys agree on that, I mean, why not, just your partner can stay home or your spouse can stay home and do whatever. But I mean, if that person does want to work and they don't want to stay home, I will let them, do that as well too. It's just going to be, more money for you. But yeah, some people, I'm happy that the shift is a lot different though than it was like back in the day with that stereotype of women stay home, men go out to work though. And it's just I feel like we're moving in a very good direction right now too. Because couples, it's interesting and amazing to me what different couples do on like a daily basis. Like I know couples also too that they go into business together and they have a shop that they run their whole entire life. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I think love is a beautiful thing overall. But if you guys also put your minds together and you want to run a company together, it's just phenomenal. I mean, a lot of people say that's the American dream, having your own business, and also it's family owned. It's freaking awesome.
Right. And just to kind of sum this story up a little bit, is this proves that as long as you're experienced and you know what you're doing professionally, then it shouldn't matter who gets the job, whether it's male, female, religion-based, race-based, ethnicity. It shouldn't matter. Sexual orientation. It shouldn't matter. It's just... It should be whoever is the most experienced, or whoever the business deems to be experienced, and that's kind of a gray area, because sometimes what a business sees as experienced is different from what could be qualified for as an experienced position. So it's a nice situation. I want to see more women in these positions, especially if they're experienced. That's the big thing. If they qualify with enough experience, I'm all for them having the job. Now, people say, "Oh, Nick, what do you mean?" And I'm like, well, I have no problem with women being in power. I've never had a problem with that. You haven't either. We both don't have that issue. But if they're inexperienced, it's one thing. If they're really experienced, go ahead. Go for it.
Right. I mean, I gotta tell you this too, though, brother. Like, I agree with you on the part there about women, and you have no problem like having women being empowered. I partially agree with you on that with the experience, but here's the other thing with the experience too, and I've always believed this, especially like a lot of college kids who have trouble finding jobs, unfortunately, when they get out of school, is I just never have understood that. Yeah, I just never have understood how a lot of people say, well, especially employers, they'll say to you like, well, we can't really hire you because you don't really have a lot of experience. And then what I'm saying in my mind is, well, they have 4 years of experience, like with college, like doing, maybe not working in the actual field and working out in public. And yeah.
The big issue is now that college experience doesn't really do it for businesses anymore, unfortunately. Like, they're expecting beginners to have 5 years experience now in the business, which is impossible. So you almost have to know somebody to get into, especially our business and media. But I don't know. It's just, excuse me, that you got to work hard. You and I have worked very hard to get where we are. We've both been at WABC for over 3 years now. And you got to know people. You got to make connections. You got to work hard. A job is not going to drop out of the sky and on your plate and say, here it is. It's not going to present itself to you.
I hear you on that, brother. And, what I was saying, too, is, let's say if she didn't actually have the experience, what I also believe is a good thing, too, and there has been a lot of people, and I'm somebody who has had this happen to me before, too. When I started in radio, I had no experience really at all. And I was very fortunate to be linked up with somebody at the radio station. Well, not at ours, but at a different station that used to be our sister station. And this woman really developed me, and she really gave me the experience that I really needed to go out there and do my thing. Well, actually, it's funny because I have the experience now from writing stories out for entertainment news. Now, when it comes to running the board, I did that a little bit, but I kind of got that experience, I would say, from working at my school, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and shout out to that place too, from running the soundboard there. And I really got a lot of my experience from somebody like you, Nick, and Christian, and a lot of people that work at the radio station with us, because they actually taught me the first couple of months, like how to run the board and everything like that. And I think that's okay too. If you have someone that's inexperienced with something, I've always said to myself, I just don't understand, like, how are they supposed to get the experience if someone won't give them a chance? Because I feel like in a position like what Kim is in right now, I feel like even if she didn't have the experience that, like, maybe other people do,
you learn.
She could shadow somebody there and be an intern and then keep doing her thing. I think that's also something that's okay as well too. And sometimes people will give you a job actually because they want to see how you do, to actually work in that kind of position, and then someone will kind of be there to shadow you and kind of to work with you there as well too, in that kind of nature.
See, the big problem, and I've run into it before, I'm not going to say the place where I had this issue, which workplace it was, but I worked at a place where I've told this story to Izzy before. It took me a year and a half out of college to get to WABC. So I had to work in other places, and I worked at a medical billing place, not going to say where. And like when I got there, I had the opposite effect. Like, how when women show up to a place and it's male dominated, they don't want to help in that situation.
Right.
I had the opposite effect where it was very, I don't know, female, women dominated. And I walked in and I felt a little awkward because I didn't know how to fit in, because I didn't really know many people there. And I don't know if you're like this, but I ask a lot of questions because I want to make sure I'm doing something right. And when push came to shove, it just didn't work because they said I asked too many questions.
See, I think in like a situation like that, brother, it's just like some people really expect you to just know it all and learn like extremely fast. And what some people I feel like in the workplace may not understand is that you gotta also just do your best to remember that these people are also new. Like, even though they have experience with what they possibly are going into, just remember that they're also new to the type of environment too. And it is, like you said, Nick, you ask a lot of questions, and I did that as well too when I started at WABC. I was writing things down on a notebook, which I think is actually a really good thing to do if you're starting at a new job. By the way, just a little friendly like job advice is.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, like Kyle, who was on with us the past couple episodes, he actually he is a new hire at our radio station. I've been working with him. I'm sure you've helped him out a little bit from time to time. Christian's helped him out from time to time. He was one of our coworkers. And you learn from everybody. Like, you don't just come into a job overnight and become an overnight success, as they say.
Right. And it's just something to where, like, you just have to not give up and just put as much effort as you can into something. And, definitely, treat everyone with a lot of kindness too, because you never know who's out there who's really watching. I mean, it's a situation to where, like, going back to Kenwood, going into this position in the MLB, I mean, I'm sure she was out there just doing her thing, and then someone happened to come across her, and they just thought that she would be like amazing. And I think that's one of the reasons that we just have to, make sure that we treat everyone with a lot of respect and a lot of kindness, because you never really know when someone's going to send you a message either that's going to say, hey, or give you a call that says, hey, like, we actually kind of really like you, and we want to like give you this opportunity if you really want it. And that's a beautiful thing, especially, people who, and I've talked about this in a few episodes, like people who are like, Steve Harvey and, Tyler Perry and people like Oprah and Ellen DeGeneres, people who they just had obstacles and challenges and speed bumps that they had to like overcome to really get to where they're at now. Someone like Tyler Perry I love because he was on both sides of the spectrum. So he knows what it's like to have no money and be homeless. And then his brother also knows what it's like too, to be completely rich and be able to help other people out and do his thing. And it's just something in life to where, just the best thing to do is not to give up though, and just put a lot of effort into whatever you're doing now and treat everybody nice. And you're going to get very far that way. I promise you.
And to go back to that point you were making, like, as they say, be professional and don't do anything to people who are in your path, because eventually they might be the one giving you a job down the road. Even if it's not the same place, it could be in a different place. I've been there before. I know that feeling. And
yeah.
And so you just got to be careful in regards to professional status. And like, using LinkedIn is a great resource when you're looking for a job, regardless if it's media like us or social media or anything, marketing. Just try to act in a professional way and you'll get where you want to get. It might take a few years. It took me a year and a half, like I said, out of school to find WABC. And now I've been there 3.5 years and I'm working 30 to 35 hours a week. And I've moved up. I've gone from being a board up to still being a board up and now producing Sunday shows and helping with some social media stuff and helping with other stuff and just being able to run a board and produce a nationally syndicated program that we run out of our facility. So, like, you just got to keep going. And in our business especially, you go through the ups and the downs. Izzy, you know that well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the entertainment business, I feel like, is just something to where it's, you just can't like give up. And I feel like also it's like any kind of performing business, whether it's entertainment such as like acting, or you're doing something with TV, or just also know too, always be yourself too, and just make sure that you're just doing what you are, I guess, told to do, or just be yourself. Don't put a lot of effort into it though.
Also, big piece of advice when you're working at a job, always say, within reason, always say yes when someone asks you to do something.
Yes, because when you say yes and you want to like learn other things, it definitely shows that you're a team player, and jobs freaking love that. Jobs, they are like so obsessed with that though, like when you're a team player, because not only can they use you for the position they hired you for, but you are willing to actually find out like what other positions are like, and then they could also put you in that spot as well too.
Right. So, and I'm sure like Kim Ng, who we just said, if you're just joining us now, Kim Ng was announced as the new general manager for the Miami Marlins, and is the first woman and Asian American woman to be a general manager of a North American professional sports league franchise. Wow, that's a mouthful. And just, she worked at it for 30 years. 30 years of experience in Major League Baseball front offices and Major League Baseball, not just teams, but also working in the commissioner's office and being involved in that way. So just be personable, be respectful, say yes if they ask you to do something. Like, I've learned many different things at WABC. When they ask me, can you help call screen? Can you help produce shows? Can you run the board for certain shows you've never done before? Just say yes. And that situation applies to everything else. Say you work, excuse me, in a supermarket, and you start as usually you start as a bagger, usually, and then say you want to learn how to do the register. Okay, you would say yes. And then you keep moving your way up. And eventually, when you do that long enough, you become a manager. And then you move up and you move up and you move up and you move up. And eventually, that's how you become successful in life.
Right. And, here's another thing, too. And I got to shout out actually one of my neighbors for this, too, because I didn't really think about this for a while. But I think another thing, too, is it's also, I feel like, a smart idea, too, to not only have like it's okay to have a career path and, to stick with that your whole life. But I think it's also a good idea, too, to not only know how to do like one thing that could be a job, such as like nursing, but it's also good, too, to also know how to see if you know how to do podcasting, and if you know how to do construction work, if you know how to be a handyman, if you know how to fix IT equipment. Because in a situation like that, like, you not only know how to do one profession or one occupation or one job really well, like you can do like 5 others too, in case, God forbid, that something with your one job happens, you actually have the capability to do another job because you have experience doing that. And I think that's also a very smart idea as well, too.
Right. So you're talking about like having 5 or 6 tools in the toolbox, as they say, where I can do one job, but if that one doesn't work out, then I can do this job, or I can do that job, or I always have something to fall back on in case you get fired or laid off from a job, and you can. And what's also different in today's times, well, when we were much younger, we didn't have it, but now it exists, is you can go on social media and you can create a brand and build it, and you can almost go into business on your own and create something in media, which is what we didn't have that years ago. Like you had to apply to work at a company and work. I mean, you and I work at a company, but like you see people on YouTube. We're trying to build the channel on YouTube and Facebook and everything. But now you have TikTokers, you have Instagrammers, you have tweeters, you have everything. People are building channels and creating their own brand, and they're making a ton of money. And actually, I wanted to bring up the story quickly because you and I were talking about a big time YouTuber because we were watching a video. We were talking about Mr. Beast.
We were, yes. And I'm not sure if some of you know who he is. His actual real name is Jimmy Donaldson. And he's just such an inspiration because to me, and I'm sure to you too, Nick, and to a lot of you other people out there, if you happen to go on YouTube and type his name in, what's so amazing about this brother is he started on YouTube when he was either 12 or 13 years old. And he just started making Minecraft videos. Then he started talking about just things that happened in his life. And he said in one interview, he was like, yeah, I just decided to move on from Minecraft and just start talking about myself and how I'm an idiot and stuff like that. And he just did a lot of different, I don't think personally he's an idiot. I think he's a great guy, but, he just happened to say in an interview. But, this brother went from being somebody who was on Minecraft on YouTube all the time to someone who is just now one of the biggest YouTubers ever. And he was just being himself. And it's just amazing to me how you can actually launch your own career, like you were saying, Nick, on social media. And really all it takes, though, is just, I believe, consistency, and also just make sure that whatever your brand is, that you just stick with it. And I always say, too, if one plan doesn't work, if plan A doesn't work, there's plan B, C, D, E, and F, though. And one of them, I can tell you, is guaranteed to work, though. And you will find that sweet spot.
But he's incredible to me because just watching his videos and seeing what he does, and I've heard him tell the story that he had like $40,000 finally an account from making money off of YouTube videos, and he constantly reinvests in videos. I've seen him spend $1 million on video before.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And what I love about Mr. Beast, too, is he's always giving back. He actually, if you check this video out, it's really awesome, where he opened his own bank. I think it was called a free money bank, actually.
It was free money bank, yeah.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal because there was actually a couple in there that I was crying watching this because they were saying that they were going through a really tough time financially, and Mr. Beast gave them anywhere from, I believe it was $2,000 to $10,000, and that really will change somebody's life. And he was saying too that he loves giving money away. It's funny, I'm like the same way as well too, because money's like one of those things to where it's like I'm not a stickler for money, and also at the same time, it's like, especially when someone's going for a really tough time and you give them money, you can see it in their face and their eyes, though, especially when they start getting emotional. Because I get emotional myself doing that with people, to where it's just like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Like,
Well,
just because it really helps people too, especially if they went through an obstacle that they weren't expecting to go through.
well, we've said that once we grow and we can have our platform bigger, we would donate some money, hopefully down the road, to people who are less fortunate than we are. That's our plan. Once we grow big and we can get sponsors for our videos and everything, we are going to donate some money, and we're going to make some videos to bring people on here and say, hey, we want to help you out and do something nice. And we want to make sure that people don't starve and people have money so that they can survive and live. So hopefully once we grow and people can help us out, like we want to do that for people. And I told you, we have a plan, hopefully around Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that area. Like you said, you're going to talk to somebody in New Jersey about Soup Kitchen, and I'm going to talk to my aunt, because we have one out here that I've helped with before, where we've delivered food to people on the holidays. So
right, I think that would be like such an amazing thing, brother. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of cool things coming up as well pretty soon. We're going to actually have that person on, or actually two people, matter of fact.
Yeah.
Talking about this whole situation with giving back during the holidays and how joyful that is. And then, we got Christmas coming up, which is going to be pretty cool. So, we're going to definitely be around as well too. And yeah, I don't know, brother. I mean, do you feel like did pretty good today? I mean, I think we did.
Oh my God, it's like 52 minutes on here already.
Yeah, I was looking at the clock and I said, we better actually.
But make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Nick and Izzy. If you can see on our scrolling bar down below as it's going by. And actually, as it's coming around now, if you look at the last thing, if you want to email us about stories, if you have a crazy story like Izzy said,
yeah,
and you had a crazy party, well, you're not really going out now because you're social distancing or whatnot. But say you're doing crazy stuff at home, or as Izzy and I were talking about, say you have a coming out story and you want to talk to us about that. We want to hear like what your difficult journey was, and we want to talk about it, or anything. Right. And just like any stories you want to tell us, anything interesting you want to tell us, there's the email, nickandizzy@gmail.com. We try to check it every day, so just give us some patience. We will look, and if you want to be on with us, just write in there if you have a story, and we'll try to get you on here with us to do an episode. So,
right, definitely.
Yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, and YouTube. Make sure you follow our Nick and Izzy YouTube page. Subscribe to it. We're catching up on all the episodes as I'm trying to help Izzy with that. And
yeah, there's a lot of stuff actually on there we've been figuring out. So it's funny being a YouTuber, because I'll tell you, you start learning so many things on the fly about like all the little effects and features that they have. But it works out pretty good though. And if you guys like are thinking about doing something like this, like, I would just start it and just, I'm kind of learning as I go. So I'm starting to learn a lot more about all this stuff.
Yeah. So just follow us on the journey as we do our show. And I guess that's about it, Izzy.
I think so too, brother. Just remember the hashtag Izzy loves ya.
Just be very careful and be kind to one another, as Ellen says, and just try to be nice to one another.
Yes, guys, definitely. We'll talk to you very soon. We'll be on here very shortly. We promise you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.